Yon, we are audible now. Good evening, everybody. Julian, swear to God, man. Lapit na next week na ang alamat. You better be there. We got some
Alam mo,
things
Julian,
cooking.
this might be a little, inside basketball here. Pero gusto kang bigyan ng ticket ni Emil tsaka ni Rowan, pare, for alamat. Tapos sabi ni Stan, bakit daw siya magbibigay ng ticket sa AI? So, kung ako sa'yo, magpatunay ka ng totoong tao, magpakita ka, di ba?
Kung tumanggi ka pa sa libreng ticket, di ko na
Oo.
alam. Holiday pa yon, Sunday. What up, Ina? The Prime. Thank you for joining us. Everyone joining us today. If not commenting in the chat,
Hello,
YouTube,
guys.
Facebook. Marami-rami tayo pag-uusapan. It has been an eventful past 3 days. Friday pa lang, may balita na.
Yes.
We wished umabot siya ng live stream on Thursday, but it was not to be. So we will be talking about that tonight.
That's what these streams are for, di ba? For the
Exactly.
weekend. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
kami lang ni Ro kasama niyo tonight, but we have plenty to talk about. So,
Yeah. Ibanggitin niyo yung pangalan ni Emil Nate. Baka lumabas
nakakasama
siya.
niyo siya.
Uh, he's around here somewhere.
Baka magparamdam siya sa Comsec.
You better be free, Julia. It's a Sunday. It's a holiday. What else do you need? Di ka ticket mo, if ever. All you got to do is prove to us that you're real, my friend. Yon. Oh, the semester ends by this week. You know what you got to do.
Sakto. Tapos next week din start eh. No?
Jasper, baka gusto mo libreng ticket. It's been a while since you've been to a show. We also have a very special announcement at the top of the show. Next Sunday pa, Jasper. The 30th.
30. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, malayo nga. That's true. It is even far from me.
Well, from you guys, yeah.
Yeah. I was just there in the area yesterday. And malayo-layo talaga siya. Like we went to that side of the city. Then we had to go back all the way home to the other side of the city. Okay, it was a long day. Sana magkaroon kami ng bagong venue next year. Bulacan State, where is Bulacan State University? Let's look that up.
Tuloy Bulacan City? No.
There is no Bulacan City.
Wala
It
bang Bulacan
is
City?
in Malolo. So
Wala
malapit
pala.
lang yun. Tangina. It's not so
Malolos.
far.
Malapit nga lang.
Malapit yun. What up, Father Bruce?
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Lapit na. Okay, time to shut up.
Please hit my music and yeet. My name is Colin Cash Money Cannon.
What do we want to talk about?
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
You're still just a kid. Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Because mommy is always on top.
This is Lola Vice. I love you so much.
They love my Latina heat.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
You are CM Punk.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
To say his name.
Say his name and he appears.
Stan C, the voice of Philippine wrestling, University of the Philippines, Diliman.
Romoran, the fancy dad, University of the Philippines, Diliman.
Chino Liao, Best Gout Machine, San Sebastian College Recoletos, College of St. Benilde, De La Salle University, International Academy of Film and Television.
Emil Nate, small forward, the Ateneo de Naga University.
And you're listening.
And you're listening
to the Wrestling Podcast.
And you're listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
On our Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
You are now watching and listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is a Wrestling Podcast, Monday live stream edition, weekend reacts and picks of the week. It's myself, Romoran, and Chino Liao. No Stan C, no Emil Nate. Emil Nate just got back to his domicile in Naga, so he is all tuckered out for the evening. Stan is busy filming a project that you may be seeing pretty soon. I just don't know where exactly. How are you today, Chino, on this pretty traffic Monday evening?
Good. Sana okay lang kayo, guys, despite the rain, despite the traffic.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's raining right now where I am. So, if you're out in the QC part of the world, sana okay lang kayo. It's also been pretty hot lately, so I hope you guys are staying hydrated. Weird the weather natin, so I hope you guys, like I have a little cold right now, so I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy where you are.
Yeah. If you guys are watching us on Facebook right now, on YouTube Live, or after the fact when we post this on YouTube afterwards, hello. Thank you for joining us, for choosing us to process the past few days, the past weekend of wrestling action, wrestling news that happened while we were gone after our Thursday live stream. So let's get to some actual wrestling. But before that, we have an important announcement to make. The announcement that some people have been waiting for, and I hope that some people will actually patronize. It is official. We can finally announce that we are having the Last Time Is Now Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final match at Skinny Mike's Sports Bar, BGC. Skinny Mike's Bar and Events Place, rather. December 14, that's a Sunday. It's going to be at 8:30 a.m. The show is starting at that time, so doors will open around 8. So if you have been wanting to see, if you have been asking us if we will be showing the final match, if you want to experience the final match and say goodbye to John Cena with the rest of your fellow wrestling fans, this is the place, this is the time. Bookmark it on your calendar. Stay tuned for our pre-registration forms. We'll be doing that pretty soon, probably this week. Malapit na. It's gonna come sooner than you think. It might be possible that all of us will be there, except for Emil Nate pala. So we'll see you guys there, and we will all maybe cry together.
Yeah, sama-sama tayong umiyak
match.
ng man tears and non-man tears when we say farewell to the GOAT that is John Cena.
Yeah, and possibly watch him lose or pass on the Intercontinental Championship to a young star who absolutely deserves it. Yun, so Skinny Mike's Bar and Events Place, December 14. That's a Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Kita-kita tayo doon. It's not super early like our usual PLEs. Nagkaguluhan pa kami sa oras ng bar, but we will be there, and it's a reasonable hour. So I hope to see you guys there, especially to those who have been asking for it. Because there have been quite a few people who have been asking for that show. Speaking of people asking for things, asking for WWE, it is now also official. Our first news item of the day: Netflix Philippines has announced last Friday that WWE will finally be available in January. I can't remember if they gave us an exact date, pero by the time 2026 rolls around, we will be able to watch WWE content. That's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and PLEs live, as well as the Vault. I've seen the Vault. It is kind of complete, dating back, for example, Raw's dating all the way back to 93, SmackDown's dating all the way back to 99. So if you are, the type of fan who watches the old stuff on the WWE Network, if you are subscribed to the WWE Network, ito na yun. So it is pretty complete. I've seen it. All they have to do is really just make it available to people watching here in the Philippines. So, what do you think of this, Chino? Are you already watching WWE content on Netflix using our VPN?
Yes, definitely. That's the best way for me to catch up on the weeklies because una-una, ang dali lang. I have a Netflix account. It's right there. All I needed was a VPN. And we have that. So ginagawa ko na siya on the weekly. That's why I'm very caught up with everything. Unlike before, I don't download things anymore. I dislike it kasi ang effort niya.
Sure.
And dealing with online streamers, sabihin na natin, other streamers, takes a little bit more effort kasi ang daming ads, ang daming skips, right? So this way, if you're after convenience, like myself, you're after the easy way in to wrestling, this is the best way for you. Di mo na kailangan ng VPN. They took out the middleman. You can get to your WWE fix straight into your veins come January 2026. Klaruan lang din natin, ha? This is not a live event, okay?
This is not a shot at anyone in particular. We did actually get a question in our inbox asking if it's an announcement for a live event. It's not. Some content creators on Twitter have also been fooled into thinking that it was an announcement for a Manila tour. It's not. It's not that we know of. If it were a Manila tour, you would have seen someone drop by here, like the way that Big Show and Xavier Woods did so noong 2015 or 2016, 2018.
Oh, wala. This is on Netflix. Supportan yung Netflix, malay natin. That leads to a future show.
Exactly.
Right? That's how they gauge that's how they gauge the heat that they get for these things. So if you support the Netflix programming, it's not 100% guaranteed, pero malay natin, diba?
Yeah, actually, the announcement was kind of hinted, was kind of implied na rin when Netflix sent out our friend Hobby Dainsy to watch Crown Jewel at in Perth last month, diba?
Yeah, no.
So the reason, I mean, they wouldn't have done that if they weren't gonna make a Netflix announcement soon. So ito na. It's everything we've been waiting for. It also does mean that it will likely go away from Blast TV and Tap Sports. I've also gotten that question as well. Syempre, when Netflix has the rights to show all the WWE programming on TV via Netflix, malamang wala na yun sa ibang platform, sa ibang channel. So if you've been watching on TV, on Blast TV or in Tap, I'm sure it's going to be easy to for you because I'm pretty sure that you have a Netflix account somewhere, especially with how our ISPs like Converge, our reliable Converge, have made it easier to subscribe to Netflix using their fiber internet plans. Yun. Anything else you want to add to that? Anything else you want to
good stuff, man.
All
exciting times ahead for all of us wrestling fans here in the Philippines. Can't wait to start watching Netflix on WWE rather on Netflix.
That's right. Right, let's move to actual wrestling news in the ring. Before we get to SmackDown, we have to talk TNA. So TNA Impact was momentous because it was the first live episode or the first storyline episode after a month of a blackout following Bound for Glory 2025. And it ended in pretty explosive fashion after Frankie Kazarian cashed in his collar shot into to win the TNA World Championship from Mike Santana. So it was going to be Mike Santana versus Ryan Nemeth, and then NXT stars invaded, like the NXT mid-carders invaded, and then after that, Kaz cashed in. So a lot of feelings from people all around, but I want to get your thoughts, Gina, as the TNA viewer, and especially as someone who probably kind of identified with with Mike Santana winning the Bound for Glory. What is your read on this particular booking decision?
So, larin lang natin, okay? This was the first Impact back after a month off,
Yeah.
no build whatsoever, and
Yep.
then they have Santana drop the title to Kazarian in fairly controversial fashion.
Right.
The next day, they had a pay-per-view called Turning Point happen. Same NXT stars invaded during the main event. Si Nick Nemeth, who was supposed to cash in because he's also a Collier Shot Gauntlet winner.
Okay, so because Kaz had his match, meron pa rin match si Nick Nemeth, so it didn't take away from his own.
Yes, dalawa sila basically. So just because Kaz cashed in his chip doesn't mean Nick Nemeth loses his. He still has his shot. Tries to cash in. He gets jumped. We don't know if the person who jumps Nick Nemeth is part of the NXT group kasi naka-hoodie siya. So his face was obscured. But the NXT gang, sila Lexus King, High Rise was interesting na nandun sila, which will say why later on. Pero High Rise was there, and yung pinaka-notable dyan sa group na yan was actually Robert Stone, si Robbie
Oh, yeah.
Who was a former TNA guy. He was leading the pack of TNA wrestlers, mobbing si Mike Santana, and then ang ending nito is basically Frankie Kazarian also gets bombed, is unable to actually defend his title, I guess, and doon natapos yung turning point. Now, TNA just did another TNA thing, which is them just suddenly dropping the title. It's happened before multiple times, diba? It just sucks kasi they've been on such a roll lately with this NXT partnership, and then all of a sudden they do this to Mike Santana. I'm sure si Santana okay lang siya because the fact that he's actually champion is such a big deal for the guy who was primarily known as a tag team wrestler, diba? With Proud and Powerful. So the fact that he gets to be their I guess version of Jey Uso at this point is actually a big deal. Now, I think the drop was a little sudden, but I think the bigger implication here is that they found a replacement for those jobbers in Dark State. Kasi parang ganun lang din yung nangyari, diba? They replaced one NXT group with another NXT group. It just so happens that this NXT group actually are known entities, diba? Hindi sila mga NIL, whatever, right?
Sure.
At least make kilala so it's an actual threat that's there, and people can place faces on them and identities on these attackers. But at the end of the day, medyo malabo pa ang lahat to actually say what actually happened here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to explain why they did what they did. So, a lot of people, a lot of bookers, if you talk to old school bookers, to traditional bookers, they'll tell you that it's much better and you get much more money, much more interest, much more buzz when your babyface is always chasing for the championship. So they did this for Santana when they had him lose at Slammiversary in New York, diba? And then they did it now after basically having Santana be champion for a month without any TNA. There's a meal in the chat now. You're supposed to be playing it in this one, Emil, pero wala ka eh. But yeah, Santana chasing the championship, in theory, it might have worked like maybe like 40 years ago if this were the 1980s and 1970s. But people do actually want to see the baby face reign a little bit, diba? Before they wear out that welcome, the way that some people are actually hating on Cody now. So sayang na eh. Like, yeah, you get the moment. Santana got his moment of winning the championship, and he's actually pretty highly protected because he had to lose right after an ambush, diba? He had to. It took an ambush and a blind sighting for him to really fall to Kazarian, diba? Kasi he wasn't at 100% and all of that. It was his second match of the night, basically. So when you really think about it, it's not him being sacrificed at 100%. He wasn't buried by any means, but all the same, hindi pa rin champion like after a month, diba? So I think they needed to really just let that play out first, and before they did the whole angle with the NXT guys and Kazarian. Sayang lang. I agree to sayang lang siya.
It's
Go.
weird that, sorry, it's just weird that after a month of nothing, they suddenly drop this. I guess it brings eyes to the product. We're talking about it now. So in that respect, successful sila doon. But for everything else, diba, for long-term storytelling, parang nasagasaan lahat eh.
Yeah, I was telling Anton actually, when after it happened that I felt like TNA is still under the impression that any bad news, any bad buzz is still good buzz. But you don't have that anymore. Remember, we're knee deep in 2025, and people will get turned off if you book against them, diba? It's not a thing that you can wield carelessly just because you're getting the reactions, diba? It might not be the reactions you want, or maybe it's the reactions you were looking for, but in the end, it's not the reactions you need. You don't need people telling you, "Lol, TNA won," diba? We everyone thought that we were past that. Diba? Like, if I were TNA, I would be highly content with people with fans who used to hate the TNA product now hating AEW. Let's say AEW now is what TNA used to be in the 2000s. So I mean, perception wise, not necessarily quality wise. Let's say at this point, AEW is doing much better creatively than TNA at this point, right? So sayang lang. I feel like it was a big misfire. I think it was unfortunate all around. I'm sure Santana's okay with it. I'm sure they promised him something bigger down the line, but it's not. I don't feel that this was a decision that was good for business, even though Kaz deserved it as well. But I think there's a better way to thread that Kaz getting his world championship reign than to derail the Santana reign 1 month in.
Yeah, Mike Santana is a company man, diba? He bleeds TNA through and through kahit nung nag-AEW siya, he's still very much identified with TNA as a brand.
Yeah.
So, I'm definitely get na pag sinabi mo he has something in the future kasi medyo tama naman yan. They need to reward this loyalty, diba? When after they did him dirty like this. So, at the end of the day, we just have to wait and see what happens here kay Mike Santana and the rest of the NXT guys.
Right. Speaking of people who are bleeding TNA, a very important and not surprising surprise came back no Turning Point. So at Impact before Turning Point, first we have to preface this by mentioning that Johnny Dango Curtis, aka or FKA Fandango, announced that he was retiring after TNA Genesis because I think he got married. Tapos parang I think that kind of shifted his priorities a little bit. So he was ready to give up. So the Rascals come out and say that they want to mix it up with the system just before JDC retires. And then say that they have a fourth man kasi tatlo lang sila, apat yung system. And it was someone that is coming back. It was the least hidden surprise ever because everyone knew that the recently released Wesley, aka Desmond Xavier, was coming. Was the guy who wants to come back to the Rascal. So they did exactly that. Dez came back to Turning Point, and everyone's happy. I also read that Dez doesn't have a contract with TNA, and the Rascals are also leaving, pero have their contracts expiring by the end of the year. So, what do you make of all of these developments in one story?
Daming pasabog ng TNA. Kaya pala 1 month off. But first of all, I am a fan of JDC, of Johnny Curtis, of Fandango, whatever you want to call him. Ever since his arrival in the WWE, diba? It was significant that he made that announcement in Full Sail because he is a product of NXT. Diba? Kasama siya dun sa batch of NXT superstars that had main roster talent as coaches. So, yung partnership na yun, nandun pa sa kanya, it's important to him that he was able to do that announcement in Full Sail and to acknowledge yung history niya with his former company and his current company. I wish him well. I don't know how much his absence will be felt, sa totoo lang, but as a fan of the Fashion Police and of his time as Fandango, And now, in his current run as JDC, mamimiss ko yung on-screen presence niya. Now, moving on to the former Wesley, it's a nice that he has somewhere else to land. Like right away, naman hindi siya nahirapan. He has a soft landing right there for him. But at the same time, hindi yun surprising at all. Like you've said, it was nice that they got reunited with the Rascals, or he got reunited with his fellow Rascals. And knowing that their contracts are expiring and they are able to move to other brands, I want to see them cook in other brands because these four guys are highly talented and very athletic wrestlers here in the Rascals. And seeing them in other promotions is really just going to add to their value.
Yeah, I'll talk about I think I'll talk about where they might end up once patapos na yung contract. I think next month, 'di ba? Malapit na naman matapos yung taon. Really interesting though. On JDC, I love Dango, Dirty Dango, Johnny Curtis back then. Uh he didn't quite have that same success after leaving WWE no pandemic. So sayang lang. I do hope that they give him one last shot or one last WWE match before he finally retires. I hope that there's space for that. Lalo na you have like 2 months to prepare for it before Genesis in January. I feel like he was a good part of 2010's WWE culture that he deserves that. He deserves as much, but he deserves a send off from WWE. I don't feel like I hope that TNA is in his retirement place. Just
Yeah.
because I don't think he amounted to much. Unfortunately, I don't mean this with any disrespect. I think he wasn't able to amount to much after leaving WWE. Yun. But yeah, also the Dez deserved naman to go back to TNA. I feel like his heel turn and his new character didn't really take off. I don't think that was who he was meant to be. I think it was an experiment that they tried to just try to have him grow as a wrestler, but parang hindi talaga bagay sa kanya, di ba? Like he isn't that guy, and you would rather see him as a kid, as a rascal, if you will, as a musty kid. And I feel like that's gonna be the character that really gives him the most success, but not a grown up Jericho 2008 esque heel character that they tried. I appreciate the attempt, but I don't think that was it. Diba?
Yeah. Speaking of the attempt, High Rise also made their appearance on
Oh yeah,
TNA.
yeah, yeah.
So inisip ko kung may acknowledgement ba yan in the future. Sana
I'm sure
meron.
it will be because
Yeah.
they don't pretend that NXT doesn't happen in TNA, diba? They
Yeah.
see diba? Like with the Kalani Jordan and the Ash by Elegance relationship, diba?
Yeah.
They highly reference that when Kalani became Knockouts champion. So I know that Dez and High Rise are going to interact, and there's gonna be something that comes out of that to to reward yung loyal viewers. Right. So on to SmackDown real quick. Another tinged episode. First of all, the biggest news: the first surprise entrant is none other than Zack Ryder, not Matt Cardona, but Zack Ryder. So that's a huge major shock because Cardona has gone on record to disown the Zack Ryder character, and all it took pala was to have him play for the chance to retire John Cena for him to go back to it, diba? So Kevin Owens' soundbite from that podcast interview with Cody Rhodes aged like fine wine. Kasi yun nga sabi niya, for a guy who calls himself the indie god, he loves talking about going back to WWE. Diba? And now it's that.
It's
Sean
CVV, actually. CVV, even
Yeah.
during his interview with Matt Cardona, also asked if, in his interview, asked Matt Cardona if WWE offered you to come back as Zack Ryder. Sabi ni Matt Cardona, 100% gagawin niya agad. He's gonna
okay,
drop it. So
inamin niya.
so buwan talaga si Matt Cardona ng mga nag-interview sa kanya dati, which is so fun.
Yeah, it's just there's technically nothing wrong with wanting to go back to WWE. Like if it is your dream,
Yeah.
like the more power to you, diba? So yun. So the reports are saying that it was just a one-off appearance. And hindi pa siya or hindi talaga siya inofera ng contract to come back as Zack Ryder. But what did you feel about this? Was this something that you welcome? Like, I felt like they kind of did him dirty because they didn't do the Kevin Nash. But when Kevin Nash returned to WWE from WCW, he wasn't Diesel, diba? He was Kevin Nash. So I felt like, yes, Zack Ryder was a character with history, kay John Cena, but Matt Cardona is like the mature, for all grown up version that you can take to the main event if it ever came to that.
Yeah, it's a little weird that they decided to brand him or rebrand him as Zack Ryder, probably for familiarity's sake. Pero
Yeah.
hindi yun eh. Kasi kung yun yung argument na gagamitin mo for Zack Ryder's return, then it's an argument that belongs in the past because WWE's open door policy is that exactly. It's an open door policy na lahat na ng tao dumating sa WWE from the indies and who made it in the main roster, they have already established themselves as WWE talent, diba? So guys like Matt Cardona, I feel like even when he returns as Matt Cardona, hindi siya mawawala, hindi mahihirapan yung tao to grasp on to who he is, diba? Whether he was the indie god or the guy from TNA or the former Zack Ryder even. Malalaman agad ng tao because audiences are smart now. So it's a little weird that they did that, but at the same time, siguro yun yeah, it's falling back on nostalgia, I guess.
I get it for the tournament in the context of the John Cena tournament and in the context of history with John Cena. Gets ko yun. I just hope that if WWE signs him again, I hope that it's as Matt Cardona because Matt Cardona was the evolution of Matt Cardona, of Zack Ryder, diba? I felt like Zack Ryder was the character that Vince didn't really want to push, diba? And because of that, parang nabahiran siya ng parang curse na, okay, Zack Ryder is always going to be a mid-carder, you know? Like, if you ever want to take this guy to a higher spot, it has to be Matt Cardona, diba?
Yeah.
I felt like, yeah.
Yeah, kasi lumabas na din siya sa NXT as Matt Cardona. So, in WWE canon, if you really think about it, the identity of Matt Cardona has already been established here, diba? Whereas si Zack Ryder, yes, siguro si Zack Ryder, yes, but he's been gone a while. Diba? Even Cardona said it himself, but Zack Ryder's dead, right? So the fact that the fact that they resurrected Zack Ryder for this, it's a little weird, but okay, I guess. Yeah.
Albert on YouTube says they'll always come back to the gimmick that the fans are familiar with. But remember, Zack Ryder hasn't been in WWE since 2020, diba? And when he wasn't really like, excuse me, the most popular character ever, diba? Like, you could totally reinvent yourself as Matt Cardona, especially after you have seen, diba, the Instagram reels, the Facebook reels, especially after being seen with Chelsea Green, who people are more familiar with. Right? If you're familiar with Chelsea Green, you know who Matt Cardona is. Right? If you've seen Chelsea Green videos, right? It's not like no one's gonna know who Matt Cardona is if you play his song. If you play his song, if you show his face in the arena at SmackDown, parang that's assuming too little of your audience.
Yeah, it's also, I guess what they were trying to do is distance the identities of Ryder and Cardona from each other. Parang there's this delineation of the indie god versus si Broski, diba? Kasi, yes, I get the attraction to have Matt Cardona as part of this tournament, but Matt Cardona isn't the one with the history with John Cena. It was Zack Ryder, diba? So parang nagigets ko yung angle na kinukuha nila dito because, again, mass market appeal is the thing that they're after here. But like I said, audiences are smart now. Even if you say that's Matt Cardona and not Zack Ryder, people will still bring up conversations like this. Na bakit hindi si Matt Cardona? Bakit sila bumalik kay Zack Ryder?
Yep. Oh, well, hopefully, if it ever happens, I hope that they honor naman the work that Matt Cardona has been doing in the indies into rebranding himself. All right, let's move on to more stuff from SmackDown. Drew McIntyre ends the show as the fourth man for Team Vision. So That's 4 men on each side for War Games already. There's one more spot for each team. Was this who you predicted to be? I mean, was this a surprise to
Or
you?
sino yung
Like,
pang-apat dun sa kabila?
pang-apat sa kabila is CM Punk, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, and someone. The Usos, both Usos pala siya. Sorry.
Both Usos, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's weird because we were talking about this during the last live stream last Thursday. We actually had Drew McIntyre out, diba? We did,
right.
I think none of us had him in. Tapos biglang nandiyan na lang siya. So I guess it's a swerve that they wanted to pull over us. Diba? They wanted to pull a fast one on all the people watching their product, which I get, you know. They do it for the lulls. But then I felt like it was also kind of meh in terms of membership. Diba? They like if they really want to shock us, diba, Drew McIntyre isn't the move. I don't know who he is exactly, pero at the same time, I'm glad they got somebody from SmackDown diba, on the other side. You know, tama ako when I said somebody from SmackDown was going to get pulled. They didn't have Drew McIntyre on my bingo card, pero at least, you know, at least the SmackDown side got some representation there. Diba?
Ganun talaga eh. So, I mean, they're putting together a main event level War Games match, and you know, stories be damned, or you know, alliances be damned. We're gonna ganun talaga. Speaking of speaking of matches, about last week we were talking about how we wanted the MFT and Sami Zayn story to be in the War Games. So apparently, they're bringing back traditional Survivor Series, but on SmackDown before War Games or before Survivor Series. So I'm personally glad that they did that. I wish there was a spot for it on the card ng PLE, but all the same, it's gonna make SmackDown must watch. Do you have any thoughts on them bringing back the 5-on-5 elimination match?
No, I like it. I am actually a bigger fan of the elimination match than of War Games because that's what I relate to when it comes to Survivor Series more. The big exception naman ng War Games match itself was fairly recent in terms of Survivor Series history. So I like how they're still incorporating the survivor match or survival match. There we go. Dito sa the show before the show, I guess. The Go Home SmackDown is still must watch because of this.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. I hope it main events the show. Kasi sayang it's been a while since we had a good.
Tsaka mahaba yung mga match.
For sure, for sure.
It's so for sure, if we're still getting a 2-hour SmackDown, then for sure it's gonna close the show.
Sana, you never know. It might be another Go Home segment with the War Games guys. Diba? So, yeah. Speaking of War Games, one last bit from SmackDown. So, nung Monday Night Raw last week, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky came down to help Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. And you thought, or we all thought, that was going to be the face team for the Women's War Games match. But they did, not naman rare for WWE's part, but they did a pretty poignant reference to the history between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, where at the beginning of the show, Charlotte says she's out of the War Games team because she doesn't trust Rhea Ripley. Like, she doesn't trust Rhea. She's a snake. She doesn't like her at all. And, you know, that's good because for once, or not for once, but lately, people don't sweep their actual personal histories under the rug just for the sake of a War Games match. Diba?
Right.
Like, that was so great. I love seeing that. I think there is a way for them to get Charlotte back. I just like that they are doing the work in addressing what would be a pretty obvious bit of history between the two women.
I mean, kung mag-a-address na din sila ng history, di ba history din si Rhea at si Io, although, you know, it's been addressed before. So,
yeah,
so
they already did that, di ba?
So there's that. I don't know. It just felt like a little sudden for me to have suddenly drama on the side of the fence here. I guess, yes, you're acknowledging past relationships here, but at the same time, so close to War Games, they're starting to sow unnecessary drama only for us to have to be worked essentially. Once the match happens, diba? Lalabas nila si Charlotte last minute to be the savior of the face team here. So I guess that's what they're going here for. I don't really know if I like it at this point. Parang medyo weird lang yung execution. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more up in the air for the women's War Games matches, and they only have like four each or tapos tatlo na yung tatlo. So there is still a lot of I think there's like three either forward and so heels. So there's a lot of space to put in people who deserve to be in the match as well. So we'll see. I can't predict who the last spots for each team would be. So hirap yun eh. So I think that's the most unpredictable match or matchup that we've talked about, as we mentioned last time.
I mean, we have a week left still. Or
2 weeks, man.
2 weeks pala. So,
Yeah.
so plenty of time for them to fill these spots. Diba? And as the weeks progress, dito natin makikita sino talaga who rises to the top, you know, who's the more obvious pick here. I have my wants, my secret desires of people who want to be in the match, pero what do I know? Diba? Wala akong emulate powers at this point. So again, until that happens, I'm a wait and see.
All right. That's it for SmackDown. We have picks of the week left to talk about. But before that, take a quick break muna. Jasper, put on some Emil Nate dance moves. All right, it's time for picks of the week. We'll get through this a little quickly. We only have 2 shows to review here. We happened to pick stuff from only 2 episodes last week. First, let's get to NXT with Stan's pick. Blake Monroe interviews herself, which is pretty much the woman from hell, or AKA, or not specifically mentioned out loud. Now it's Mariah May. So Stan says it's a great way to bring the darker side of the Mariah May character without naming Mariah May into the canon of NXT. So they did a rare acknowledgement of what Blake Monroe is feeling, in that it's pretty much that she is struggling with her inner demons up to that point. So she's not ruthless enough. So Stan says that it's great that as a character, Blake doesn't really know if she should tap into the woman from hell persona, which we saw in AEW, to really be champion. So the woman from hell also makes Blake concede that she isn't truly the women's North American champion because right now, as of now, di pa rin natatalo si Sol Ruca, which gives Blake a legit chip on her shoulder heading into Gold Rush and a reason for her to win. Diba? So it's interesting, I feel, that this particular story requires you to be familiar with Mariah May in AEW. So I did like, we talked about this nung live stream last Thursday. It's a really good bit of storytelling. It's a little bit of a concession that you need to that AEW is important to this particular NXT wrestler's lore. And I hope that we get more of this. I feel like this is the most compelling thing that Blake Monroe has been a part of since joining NXT.
Yeah, I like the internal monologue between, Blake herself, the glamour, and Mariah May, the one from hell. We've already established it in live stream how important her AEW history is to getting her to NXT. So the fact that there's a little acknowledgement there, a little nod there, is actually pretty, it's good. It's good on the WWE's part. Diba? Parang hindi sila nagpaka-high horse dito sa moment na to. So there's that. And it's also just a good segment all in all.
Yep, I agree. Right, let's go to your pick, Gina.
Yeah, so my pick goes out to the main event, the last man standing match between Ricky Saint and Trick Williams for the NXT Championship. I like this match. I thought it was the most entertaining match of the night. I like the finish as well with the table spot from all the way in that stand, that loft that they have over there. So ang ganda nung pagka-execute ng spear na yun. The hard-hittingness of the match was also there. It was good for not only a hardcore match, but also just an NXT TV match. So all in all, good stuff.
All right. We already talked about this as well. So uh, go tune into the episode from last week as well. All right. Uh, let's go to Blood and Guts, which was a really, really good episode of TV. Really tight, 2 hours and 30 minutes. A little bit overtime from the usual episode of Dynamite. Start with Emil's pick muna, which is the men's Blood and Guts. So Emil's in the chat right now. I'm going to read out what he said. So he says that even though he doesn't think that the men's match was better than the women's Blood and Guts match, it did deliver through the narratives and the story that they told inside the cages. The fact that it was Kyle O'Reilly who shined in the match and won it for his team made him happy as a fan of Kyle. The spot of the night definitely belongs to Darby Allin for the sick bump through a flaming table. No one else in wrestling has the balls to take such a nasty bump. Kudos to him. I think I can name at least one person who has the balls to do that. But anyway, yeah, it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed the violence, but I really just enjoyed the other match more, which I'll talk about in a bit. But also, it's still really worth watching. So, a lot of people have been complaining. So I'll talk about this now. A lot of people have been complaining about how this is Timu War Games, quote unquote, because WWE had the rights to War Games because of their purchase of WCW. They do have the rights to War Games, but they won't do War Games the way AEW did Blood and Guts, diba? So it's a distinction. You can argue that you don't like blood, you're squeamish about blood and gore. That's not really a valid argument. It's just your preference. Just because you don't like it like that doesn't mean that this wasn't, or both Blood and Guts matches weren't violent masterpieces of art. So that's what I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, no, I like both matches. I love the women's match more, which we'll get into later. This one with Darby, parang dito lang din lumalabas yung kabaliwan ni Darby every time. I remember that one Blood and Guts match. Was this last year when he threatened to set Jungle Boy on fire? Diba? Parang, so dito lang din lumalabas yung extremeness niya. And, we've talked about the plot point with John Moxley being the weaker link here sa Death Rider. So it's actually a good thing that they doubled down on in this match. And just the brutality is just over the top here. And if you're a fan of deathmatch wrestling, really pretty good for TV.
Right, and that segues us into the women's War Game, Blood and Guts match, which is my pick. I love this match. I just love it so much. The women, especially Sky Blue, have been really adamant and insistent on having their own Blood and Guts match. I feel like it was a matter of time on the show because the one match alone is an hour, and to do this on TV needs you to do it or to have a broadcast of more than 2 hours. So that's what they did this year. It was a 2 hour and 2.5 hour broadcast of Dynamite. So I really love it when the women just go all out and defy whatever stereotype, whatever preconceived notion that the men usually and some women have about them. I love that they are able to just go all out, to bleed all over the match, to just go crazy and to be as violent, if not more, than the men. Like obviously, if you watch it, they wrestle like they have something to prove, and they really do, man. They really do have something to prove because even now, even after even after their groundbreaking performance, people have been shitting on it. Some people have been shitting on it, saying na di dapat kanin yung babae, dapat mahinhin, dapat dapat maganda lang sila, dapat di sila nagpapakadugo ng ganyan. So it's a lot of sexist comments, a lot of traditional backwards opinions about how women should conduct themselves. All things considered, if you feel that way, women shouldn't be wrestling at all. Like women shouldn't be violent in the first place, even if it's not involving blood and stuff and weapons and hardcore stuff. Diba? Women, if you feel that way, you probably should think that women should stay out of wrestling altogether. And I'm sure you don't really believe that. So The fact that they prove themselves here was a joy to behold. I just love watching them, and I hope that they get more of that, and they just break the norms and the the usual stuff that they have to deal with from backwards fans.
We've talked about both blood and guts matches in extent during the live stream, so I left all my thoughts on there. I will say that for the upcoming Survivor Series, ang taas ng bar na sinet itong blood and guts.
But you know that they're not going to do that. They're not gonna go death
I mean,
match
yes, but people will still compare, diba? People will still compare regardless. So that's sabihin mo, hindi. Yes, this was a TV match, but they still presented it like a pay-per-view. Diba? And Survivor Series is a PLE on its own. People will still compare. And so you can't help but think that, yes, ang taas ng kalaban natin. We have to match that intensity. Sana magawa natin on the WWE side of things. So just, again, good stuff. Ang panalo talaga dito, wrestling fans.
Yeah, one last thing, but I forgot to mention this on the live stream. But if you know, if you've listened to this since War Games was a thing, you know that I'm kind of bored by War Games the way WWE does it, and I realized it's because no one's really allowed to bleed in the WWE version. It's kind of sanitized, and therefore, it's not as compelling to me. I'm not saying that it's bad. The way they do it is bad. It's just not as attention grabbing to me. Diba? That's definitely a matter of preference. I will admit. It doesn't make the AEW version inherently better. I will admit that the AEW version is more palatable to me because I like how I like how I see them, how I see the match affects the wrestlers involved. So you know, if you like the WWE War Games, totally fine, totally fine. Just don't shit on the AEW version just because you don't like blood, especially when women are the ones bleeding. Right. That is it for picks of the week. That's it for our second Monday night live stream weekend reacts. Thank you to everyone who has joined us here and to to allow us to process everything that happened over the weekend with you. We are glad that you chose us to process everything. So yun. Stay tuned for the registration form for the last time is now Saturday night's main event. Watch parties, Skinny Mike's Bar and Events Place on December 14. That's a Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Abang-abang sa Facebook page namin. And for our live stream on Thursday, our usual live stream. I think I will be there. I'm not sure Stan will be there. Emil Nate will be there.
I will be there as well.
Yun.
So yeah, full house
Yun,
supposedly for Thursday.
Yun. So if you want to join the conversation, if you want to react to anything that we said, please do tag us on social media at Wrestling2X Pod on Twitter, TikTok at Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Rose War for myself on Twitter, and at Chang.Daddy on Instagram and Threads, at Chino Supersize for Chino on all platforms, at _Stan C for Stan, and at EML_Meister for Emil Nate. Until the next time we see you, and thank you Ulit, babyface producer Jasper, for always sticking by us and always making us sound great. So until the next time we see you, please stay safe, stay dry, and umulan na naman. Stay healthy. The cold bug has been going around. I just came out of it. And
I have it now. So, you know,
Oh, yeah.
sorry kung nag-ano ako in the middle of the
That's
stream.
all right.
But yeah.
No worries,
but
man.
yeah, you know, everybody's getting sick now. Sana stay safe kayo, hydrate, stay dry, all that.
Don't get Running Man, guys. It's still showing on theaters.
Yes, watch Running Man. Our review, myself and Stan, is out right now.
Yes, sir.
If you want to hear our thoughts on that, it's out on Spotify.
You can go watch it on YouTube after you listen to this as well. After we finish streaming here. Yeah. All right. Stay safe. Don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast out. Peace.